Hello, Mount Rudmore here, and I am back to streaming. Frankly, I haven't streamed in a long time, but Big Brother season is upon us. BB26 specifically. We got our first look at the house a couple days ago, and the cast was revealed today. And there's a lot to talk about. A lot of it is pretty exciting. Some of it not so much. But at this point, that's kind of the nature of Big Brother, isn't it? A couple things before we get started. Something I just want to well, two things in particular I want to say. First of all, I'm going to do everything I can to not talk about BB25 beyond me telling you right now that I don't want to talk about it. Okay? I gave up on that season when Cameron won his third HOH. Okay? I want nothing to do with it. I'm going to avoid mentioning it as much as possible. And second thing I want to talk about, kind of similar to the first, I don't want to talk about Big Brother reindeer games either because first of all, I did not watch it. And second of all, it wasn't really Big Brother. It didn't really appeal to me because it wasn't Big Brother. It lasted 2 weeks. There were no live feeds. I didn't even live in the house. It was just the challenge as a Christmas themed competition with Big Brother people. That was it. And that is the end of my time talking. Okay, one more thing about Big Brother reindeer games. Last summer was BB25, and now we're at BB26. Reindeer games came in between. That was not BB26. So, ergo, not a real season of Big Brother. And that's the last I'm going to say about reindeer games. Now, before we get into the cast of BB26, I want to first talk about the house a little bit. The house has an AI theme, like each room was given an AI prompt to as like the framework for what it's supposed to look like. Like the whole season is going to have an AI theme, really, and you know, don't love that because AI is kind of ruining everything right now. But you know, Big Brother's trying to stay relevant. By the way, my drink of choice, I got YooHoo, so I'm gonna be that weird grown man drinking YooHoo because I'm secretly still a kid in the '90s. So I want to talk about the bedroom specifically, and first is probably the most gaudy room, the uh, the fairy fantasy room or whatever, or just I call it the unicorn room because there's two unicorns painted on the wall, at least two. There might even be more. I don't know, but there's unicorns on the wall. The room is very girly, so obviously I'm rooting for a macho man to end up stuck in that room because he didn't pick a bed fast enough. The whole room is just really over the top. Like it's the girliest thing they could have possibly made. But I said this on Twitter a couple days ago, like when I first saw it. If there's ever going to be a successful all girls alliance in the Big Brother house, it is going to start in that room. It's that or nothing. Uh, Another bedroom I want to talk about is what I call the Avatar room because it's got floating mountains on the walls. And the beds are really kind of weird because they're like conjoined together and there's like a ladder or a step stool or whatever. It's like a little tiny ladder that you have to step up onto to get into the beds. And they're all just attached to each other, so it's like if you're not like the one on the end can just like stand up. But I think there were three more. They're gonna have to like just kind of wiggle their way out in the morning. Just I hope whoever gets the end of the bed, that's the easiest one to get out of. Hopefully they wake up early. That's all I can say about that. I just don't get why that bed setup is so complicated. Like the have not room is supposed to be complicated, but this is just one of the regular bedrooms. And then there's one room. It's kind of like a futuristic kind of room. Like there's a lot of white, but with a couple of like solid, almost rectangular colors for the beds. And here's all I can see in my mind when I think of that room. Do you remember the episode of SpongeBob where Squidward time traveled and he broke the thing and he basically got transported out of time completely? Like, I'm all alone, 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 alone. Like that. That's what this room reminds me of. That one episode of SpongeBob. I did tell you I was a 90s kid. And finally, let's talk about the Have Not room. Ironically, it looks the coolest. It really does. Like, it's got like the theme is that it's just kind of like the AI just kind of ran out of ideas and it's just sort of like the wireframe for the room. But that honestly makes it look super cool. You know, the beds, it just looks like some solid blocks that you have to sleep on. So, probably not the most comfortable room, but it does look cool. I can't lie. If you're ever going to be a have not, this is the season to be a have not. All right, so that's what I wanted to say about the house. We'll get into some of the twists later on, but first, I want to talk about the cast, which dropped today. I'm going to go alphabetically. I I took in as much content as I could. I watched some of Mike Bloom's interviews, but that was just like, first of all, it was only half the house guests, I think. Like that was part one. So, and I didn't even see all of that. So it might be like some people have a little more info than others, but I did watch Sharon Tharp's YouTube video from her exclusively pod. I watched Rob and Taryn from RHAP, and of course, I read as much as I could find online. I watched the videos Sharon posted on Twitter, and I have I have some thoughts on the house guests. In fact, I have a lot of thoughts on the house guests. I just remembered there was one thing I wanted to do. Thought I did everything I wanted to do before I started this stream, but there's one more thing. I wanted to make sure I had like the full stuff about the contestants. Hold on. I just remembered a shorter way for me to access it. All right. Parade.com. This is what I'm going to be checking in on, besides my notes. But this is just to get the specifics of our house guests. All right. Oh, the page has updated. But anyway, first up, we have got Angela Murray, originally from Long Beach, California, but now lives in Syracuse, Utah. Utah, bit of a jump scare, Kyle. She is 50 years old, but still only the second oldest member of this cast, and she is a real estate agent. So, um, first thing she said, well, the first note I took, um, she wants to be Cody Cauliflower. And I am not a fan of him, so, you know, not loving that. I don't think you can just be him. You gotta have been born with the silver spoon entirely up your sphincter to play the kind of game Cody Cauliflower had. Like, he played the ultimate white privilege game. So, not crazy about that. But she did say also she feels grateful for this opportunity. Like she's here for the experience. She's here just to be like, this is a new venture in my life. My kids are grown up. I didn't really get to do too much stuff like this when I was a kid. She considers herself a people person. She admits to being outspoken, and you know, That's a tightrope on Big Brother. And she's determined to be the first 50-year-old winner. That's nice. But I gotta tell you, from what I was able to consume of Angela, I get first boot energy. I'm sorry. I don't see her being much of a factor in this season. She's reminding me a little bit of Jody, BB14. If there's a night one eviction, it's probably going to be her. By the way, no night one evictions. Don't do it. At least give someone the full week. All right. Next up, we have Brooklyn. Brooklyn is 34. Brooklyn Rivera. She is 34. She's originally from Covington, Georgia, but currently lives in Dallas. And she is a business administrator. Now, you know Big Brother Twitter is unmatched in finding stuff out about people. There are people on Big Brother Twitter who could easily work for the FBI. I think even before the cast officially dropped, like we just saw the pictures and we had the rumors, I think that was when people found out that Brooklyn is a friend of BB15 Aaron, the one who got the show in a lot of trouble with her very unsavory remarks about her person of color house guests. So that is not great. But what made this even weirder is that she has turned out to be a fan of Taylor, BB24. So, I mean, I guess chaotic neutral? Maybe? She thinks that she is destined to be a legend. She wants to be a matchmaker and use a showmance as a shield. I actually don't hate that idea. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Her plan is to get two people together, make them a showmance, be attached to them, but then, oh, they're a showmance, we gotta break them up. So they'll be a target ahead of her. Good idea, but I'm not sure how well it'll work. She's determined to be the first married mother winner. And I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't think any female winner was a mother at the time they won. So she could have just said the first mother winner. I mean, first couple seasons, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if Lisa was a mom. I don't know if June was a mom. Maggie. I don't think Jordan was. I don't think Rachel was. And yeah. So I think she could have just said first mother winner. Like, some of them have become mothers since winning, but she wants to be the first mother winner. She said that she wants to win the first HOH. And I've seen a lot of people being like, typically a good thing to win. But the last three seasons, the first HOH has not gone on to great success. Two of them were the second boot. There I go. I mentioned BB25. Sorry. Again, I said I'd avoid it if I could. But the other one, the one who wasn't the second boot, but was not a savory individual and was a really embarrassing player to watch, was Smelvis from BB24. Yes, I still call him that. So yeah, that's three straight first HOHs that turned out to be flops. So, I mean, it has worked. Cody, Cody Cauliflower, the season before, Frenchie. He was the first HOH and he won. So obviously, it is a position that can work to your advantage, but you know, you have to seem like a good player. And the last three first HOHs just weren't really very good players. And I don't really get the sense that Brooklyn is going to be a very good player. I get early boot energy from her. Angela seems like a first boot. Brooklyn seems like not too long after. Okay, next up we have Cam Sullivan Brown. He is 25. He's from Bowie, Maryland, and he is a physical therapist. And from what I've gathered, he's also semi TikTok famous. Because who isn't these days? He had some interesting answers, I gotta say. He said that he wants to work with parents because they can be puppet masters, which is interesting. And I liked that he didn't say, I want to target parents because they're puppet masters. I really appreciate that. That wouldn't have been a good look. But wanting to work with them for it, okay. That's actually a decent strategy. Said he wants an alliance with mature people. So him and Angela will probably be friends. And, relatively speaking, Brooklyn is one of the older ones on the cast. So he'll probably want to be close with her, even though she's only, I think, 34, it said. He says he might do some backstabbing. And I'm like, no, definitely do some backstabbing. Come on, you're on Big Brother. He says he's good at making friends and that he's very competitive. At first, I thought he was giving off some recruit energy, but the more I listen to his answers, I'm like, okay, maybe not. Seems like he might have at least checked out this show a couple times. And it seems like he might have been like, huh, I could probably do that. He probably watched, dang it, here I go. He probably watched last season and thought, oh, I could totally ace all these competitions because it was just a competition season last season. Okay, sorry. I'm trying not to talk about it, but I'm still scarred. He seems like he could be a contender. Like he's got contender potential, but he's also got too big a targeted early on. I'm too big a threat targeted early on possibilities. Like, he might like kind of I'm breaking this promise. Kind of like what happened to Heisem last year. Came on too strong and got taken out fast. Just when I said I'm going to try not to mention BB25, pretend I didn't say that. Like, I am going to try, but I'm going to fail. All right. Next up, we have got Cedric Hodges. He is 21, originally from Running Springs, California, but currently lives in Boise, Idaho. And he is a former Marine. First of all, 21 seems like a young age to be a former Marine. Like, 21, you're probably a Marine. So, I don't know how he's already. I mean, he must have. I don't know how long boot camp lasts, but I mean, I feel like the Marines, they have a really rigorous training process. So, yeah. Anyway, the thing about Cedric is that he is energetic. Okay, he is very flamboyant and boisterous. Like he's gonna be all up in people's faces throughout this game. He talks about it, how he's bringing loyalty to the Big Brother house, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't be loyal. Be sneaky. So I didn't like that. He talks about how likable he is, and I don't trust people who talk about how great they are. Like if they use too many positive adjectives about themselves, I immediately start to distrust them because I'm going to talk about BB25 again. Jared kept talking about what a great guy he was, how he was so handsome and cool, and he was one of the worst. It's amazingly, there were so many people last season that could be a contender for the worst. Like, it's amazing Jared is only in the conversation as the worst instead of definitely the worst. So, yeah, Cedric reminds me of Jared, and I'm thrilled about that. He did say he plans to be adaptive and go step by step, and adaptability is pretty important. Thinks he'll have a strong social game and be the most lovable. He's excited about friendships. I have a feeling this guy is going to be feeds poison. He's going to be annoying. He is going to make a dominant alliance that is not fun to watch. And he's just gonna be in the game for a long time. So yeah, I think Cedric is gonna stick around for a while. And I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. All right. Up next, we have got Chelsea Bayham. Bayham? Not sure of the pronunciation. She's 27. She's from Rancho Cucamonga, California, and she is a non-profit director. She is determined to make a mark socially and physically. Like she really wants to like leave an impression. She talks about how she is a super fan and the way she talked about the game, it definitely seems that way. She wants to build as many strong relationships as possible. So, you know, that could be beneficial, but if they all start to notice, then you could get in trouble. Like what happened to Kirsten last year. She got in good with everybody, and everybody noticed she was in good with everybody, and they're like, she's not trustworthy. So here's the thing. I think Chelsea will get in a big alliance if she isn't an immediate flameout like Kirsten was. So I see a lot of people excited about her. I see why, and I liked her personality. I liked her energy. I'm just not sure if what she's bringing to the table is going to work. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just saying I don't know if it'll work. But we shall see. Next up, we got another Joseph, specifically Joseph Rodriguez. He is 30. He's from Tampa, Florida, and he's a video store clerk because apparently those still exist. Okay, so he talks about how he wants to be like Dan Giesling. So that proves he's got intimate knowledge of Big Brother, He's not a newbie. He's been around for a while. He wants to play subtly at first, kind of let the bigger personalities have their time in the sun, and then he'll make his move when the time is right. He said he definitely wants to backstab, and I'm like, yes, do it. He says he's very competitive and he's a big reality TV fan. He plays poker, and that reminds me of Vanessa, so I'm very happy about that. He also said he wants to play coy at first. He claims to be well rounded in every necessary category: the strategic game, the social game, the physical game. And he will hide that he's a super fan. Probably wise. Honestly, he gives me second juror energy. Like, that's a very recent trend. The second juror is someone, or at least I want to rephrase. I want to say the week two juror because, well, first of all, It starts with BB23, Derek X. And it's, well, okay, it's because there's some kind of twist that screws them up, throws a wrench into the game, and these fairly popular guys catch the blowback. BB23 was Derek X. The high roller twist, he decided not to go for it, and Sarah Beth took him out. I say the week 2 juror because technically Joseph was the 3rd juror, but he left week 2, and it definitely applies to him because there was a second HOH that week. If there was only one, he would have had nothing to worry about. But the house split, and he had to go outside with Crockpot, Terrence. So yeah, and then last year, Corey. There were 2 vetoes that week. I had stopped watching by that point, but I heard, and I was amazed at how ridiculous it was. But that's what I think's gonna happen to Joseph. He's gonna he's gonna be doing all right, and then week 2 a jury comes around, and he just gets the short end of the stick. All right. Up next, we have got a local for me, Henny Kelly. He is 52 years old. He is from Boston, Massachusetts, which is near me, and he is a former undercover cop. I can't imagine he was a very good undercover cop because he looks exactly like a cop. He could not look more like a cop if he tried. He's got a big bald head. He's got muscles. He's got an authoritative kind of voice. He's a huge Derek fan, BB16, because of course he is. But here's the thing Derek didn't really look that much like a cop. He just looked like a generic New England guy. Like, I have seen so many landscapers that look like Derek Levasseur. Derek was able to be undercover. I don't think Kenny's going to be able to. I think they're going to clock right away that he's a cop. Anyway, my notes about him. He said he wants to vote out people who take things personally. And this is one of those things that sounds good on the surface, but in practice, gonna he's probably gonna make it sound wrong. He says that his strategy will be very complex. He said complexed. I don't quite know. Yeah, he said complexed. He says he can read people well, which I guess you have to if you're a cop. He won't play an honest game. A lot of people are saying they will play an honest game, so he's saying he won't. And that does have potential to make things interesting, for sure. He says he's the most social, unsocial person, which is odd. He's like, sometimes I'm social, sometimes I'm not. I'm like, okay, that doesn't mean you're a social, unsocial person. It just means you go back and forth. You're pan-social, I guess. So yeah, I think he looks too much like a cop. I think he's gonna get targeted really fast, like Steve and BB20. They figured him out pretty quick. They're like, this guy looks like a cop, so let's get rid of him. Of course, it kind of seemed more like Tyler wanted him out because he was just the old guy, and it was the safe move because Tyler liked to make safe moves and call himself a genius. But that's beside the point. So yeah, that's the first of 2 locals for me. Up next, we have got Timo Apaka. Apaka. I'm not sure of the pronunciation there. He's 35. He is from Hilo, Hawaii, and he is a mattress sales rep. He is a super fan. He's applied many times. His strategy is to adapt because he's good at adapting. Living on an island, he talked about how Sometimes the shipments don't come in on time, so they have to adapt. Like I feel like Hawaiian people just kind of live off the land a little bit to an extent anyway. I mean, they just, it's pineapples and pork and poi and other things that start with a P over there. Coconuts also, something that doesn't start with a P. So yeah, I can understand being adaptive and how that might translate. Again, I think adaptability is a really underrated trait to have in the Big Brother house because you never know when things are going to go pear-shaped. I think he has the right amount of energy. I thought Cedric had too much energy. Chelsea had a good amount of energy, but I don't know if it'll work. I think Chemo has just the right energy. He's just bubbly and fun enough that I think people are going to want to keep him around just for the good vibes. But do I see him winning? No. I see him as sort of a mid-game boot. Probably like well, I guess the middle of the game would be ninth place, and I could see that probably. I see him finishing around ninth place. Because yeah, there's gonna be 17 people. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So next up we have Leah Peters. She's 26, originally from Pittsburgh, but now lives in Miami, Florida. Her occupation, VIP cocktail server. The same profession as Janelle and Rachel Riley. So a lot of people were very excited to see this. And I will admit, I was like, oh, when I saw that was her profession. But she is definitely a recruit. She's like, my mom and my sister are super fans, but it's like, it just seems like those are the people she knows that watch Big Brother. She said that she doesn't know past house guests enough to be like any one player, but she still managed to quote A Whole New World from Aladdin, which Cameron did last year. So there is one player connection she has made, and it's not a great one. I noticed she was a very low talker, which is going to be really difficult for feedsters, especially with some recent information. It's just going to be hard to hear what she's saying because she talks really low. She says that she'll show that you don't have to be conniving to do well in Big Brother. Uh huh. And she talks about how she's going to enjoy making new friends. I'm getting the sense that she's going to be carried like Annalise was and add nothing to the game. Annalise from BB21. Like she's going to be part of a big alliance but contributing nothing to it. She's just going to fall into a decent alliance because she's pretty. I mean, a lot of people are excited. They're like, oh my God, she has the same profession as Janelle and Rachel. She's clearly going to be great. But I'm sorry. Just from what I heard from her, she strikes me as someone who's very boring. And I'm not the only one who felt this way, I think, because I watched Sharon reacting to all the house guests, and it almost looked like Sharon was falling asleep listening to Leah. So, yeah, I stand by it. I don't think Leah is going to be a particularly enthralling presence on this season. She's here for a showmance. That's about it. Okay. Up next, we have got Lisa Weintraub. She is 33. She's from Los Angeles, and she is a celebrity chef. Not that she herself is a celebrity, but she cooks for celebrities. So she's not a Gordon Ramsay kind of celebrity chef. Really? Come on. My phone has decided to not listen to me right now. Anyway, Lisa. She wants to play a unique and dynamic game. Sounds a little recruity because she doesn't know anybody. She says she plans to cultivate relationships. And I actually found the use of that word rather interesting. Because when you cultivate something, you're really working at it. You're trying to make it grow. You're trying to make it into something. So if she can do that, I think she has potential to really give a really great possible social game. I just realized my laptop is not plugged in. Well, it's plugged in, but power cord isn't on. Power stripped. As I said, she is a chef, and she plans to use that to her advantage. She's going to cook for her house guests, get in good with everybody. And listen, a lot of the real game talk happens in the kitchen. So that is definitely an interesting idea. Of course, she has to be a good cook. And let's not forget, Nicole from BB24 was also a cook, and her food did not look very good. So here's hoping Lisa is a better cook than Nicole was. Honestly, I got a lot of the same vibes from Lisa that I got from Leah, but I feel like Lisa's going to be the better one. I feel like Lisa does have a little bit more of a personality. I feel like she might kind of go with the flow a little more. I feel like she'll contribute to the game a little more. So, yeah, I think uh, I think Lisa has some potential. And I would also like to point out, I saw someone make a fan cam of her before the cast dropped. A fan edit. Someone just made a video, put it on Twitter of mostly her cast photo, but then they also found like some Instagram pictures of her or whatever. So, yeah, that's how you know this fandom is not well. That they're standing people off pictures when the cast was not even confirmed at that point. Okay, next up we have got Mackenzie Manbeck, and I would like to point out the spelling of Mackenzie. Makensy, which has real La Fonda from Napoleon Dynamite energy. Like, it just seems like you tried to spell Mackenzie and you got it wrong. Anyway, Mackenzie is 22. She is from Houston, and she is a construction project manager. She talks about how she likes Casey from BB20. She says she's a triple threat social, mental, physical. She says that she wants to start shy and planning to play innocent. So I'm getting kind of an under the radar strat, which Casey definitely had on her season. So she seems to have at least watched BB20, but, you know, almost feels like, again, I'm getting recruit energy. They reached out to her and she's like, what season should I watch? And they're like, oh, just check out BB20. Everyone likes that one. But if she can pull off Casey's under the radar game, then, maybe. If she can win competition, because I think she's going to be in an alliance, but if she can win competitions and actually properly contribute to that alliance, then I could see her sticking around for a while. But again, I'm getting showman's vibes. So we shall see. All right, up next we have got Matt Hardiman. He's 25. He is originally from one town in Georgia. Now he lives in another town in Georgia. Why not just say where they currently live? Like, I don't need to know where they were born, honestly. Like, unless they were born in another country, which we'll get to. and his occupation is a tech sales rep. So he says that he wants to target super fans. He's just talking about how like some Big Brother fans have like a Big Brother Bible and they do like equations and mathematics and whatnot. And he was basically calling out Terran and his GameBot mind. I just found two typos back to back in my notes. He said he wants to work with older people because his dad is older. Age is coming up a lot. Like both Angela and Kenny talked about how they were gonna be the older contestants. Cam talked about wanting to work with the older people, and now Matt's talking about wanting to work with the older people. But Matt says he wants to because his dad is older. I can relate to that. My dad was one of the older dads at the parent teacher conferences. That's all I'm going to say. He said that he wants a motherly figure. So, Angela. He said he wants to be in the middle for the competitions at first, but feels confident he could win most of them. Like, okay. Careful you don't talk yourself up too much. But honestly, I feel like this guy might be a contender. I think we're going to have a contender named Matt for the second year in a row. Here's hoping this one's a little less terrible. All right. Next up, we have got Quinn Martin, 25 years old, originally from Oklahoma, currently lives in Omaha, Nebraska, and his occupation is a nurse recruiter. Uh, elephant in the room, he looks like Allison Grodner, the showrunner. And there's always one every year. There's always some guy that looks like Allison Grodner's son. But, unlike most of them, this guy is definitely a super fan. Like a nerdy kind of super fan, not like a Tyler super fan. Tyler also looks like Grodner, for those of you who don't know. Um, Quinn is definitely a super fan because he is a big Jason Guy fan. He was third place on season 3. He said that's who he wants to emulate. But said that he likes Jason Guy, who, from all I've heard, it is like one of the most wholesome house guests ever. But he also likes Brett and Paul. So I guess Quinn wants to be some kind of hybrid of Jason Guy, Brett, and Paul. BB20 Brett and BB18 and 19 Paul specifically. And I'm just like, that is quite a combination. I mean, I guess he like Brett and Paul for their ability to just cause trouble, basically. Well, Brett caused trouble, Paul caused cults. Quinn is a dual sport college athlete. This is where the real super fan came in. He said there are 4 kinds of players: snakes, rats, frogs, and doves. And he wants to be a rat when his back is against the wall. Now, okay, I know what a rat is. A snake, sure, I can figure that one out. What is a frog? And what is a dove? I was watching Rob and Taryn earlier, and they suggested that by frog, it could mean you leap from one alliance to another. Maybe. And a dove just kind of flies through the game. I mean, they didn't say this. That's my guess. Someone who just kind of flies through the game, like they're just super dominant. Like Jag and Matt were doves because they flew through the game. I don't know. I definitely want to hear Quinn's definitions. This was the most interesting thing I think Quinn said. He wants to align with emotional players, so they'll have a deeper bond and they'll be less likely to backstab him. I see where he's coming from, and I actually like that train of thought. So, yeah. But overall, it's just a lot of chaos vibes from him. Like, yes, I'm getting super fan, but he could be like that flop super fan who flames out really fast. Like, I think there is an equal chance of Quinn winning and Quinn being the first boot. In fact, I think those are the two most likely scenarios. He's either going to win or be the first boot. Okay, next up, we have got Rubina Bernabe. She is 35. She's from Los Angeles, and she is an event bartender. First of all, she did a very great Julie Chen impression, so I respect that. She claims to be unlike anyone else. Again, it's giving recruit. She doesn't know any other players. It's a lot of the women this season seem like recruits. She says that she is here to represent for the Filipino community, and I'm like, you know, I'm always for representation, but not for nothing. Casey was Filipino, so you know, I'm not against Rubina representing, but as long as she doesn't try to say she's a trailblazer in that regard. She says she wants to be a big sister to the house. Now, what this kind of reminded me of was Vanessa, believe it or not, from BB17, because everyone in the house she was using in one way or another, but I felt like the most positive relationship she had with anybody was with Steve, and she was like a big sister to him. They had a real big sister, little brother dynamic. So, if so, there's a way to do this right, but do I get Vanessa vibes from Rubina? I do not. She seems fun enough to make jury, but she doesn't really seem like much of a contender. Okay, up next, someone else who got a fan cam before the season, before the cast even dropped. Hikor Clotty. She's 23 years old. She's originally from London and then Chicago, but currently lives in Atlanta. And she is a crochet business owner. People took one look at her picture and they're like, yes, whatever she's bringing to the table, I am I am buying it. She says that she has a positive personality with fire inside. Okay, that sounds very Taylorish, and I like that. She's very competitive and combative, so we'll see how that manifests itself. She wants to keep her game undercover. So, of course, my mind goes to Kenny. And I'm just thinking, Takor and Kenny, they will either be sworn enemies or the most wild duo in Big Brother history. I think both of those outcomes have potential. But I like what I see from Takor. I think she's someone that, if she can really nail the social game, I think she can go far. I think she might be Taylor in the sense that I don't know if she'll win too many competitions, but I definitely get the sense that she can really kill it socially and strategically. So, yeah, I got a good feeling about Takor. Okay, and last up, we've got the other local for me, although he's not a local anymore. He's originally from Boston but moved to Brooklyn. Traitor! Tucker Delorier. He is 30. Like I said, originally from Boston, currently lives in Brooklyn. He is a marketing and sales executive. Now, the thing about Sharon's video is that she was getting very little from the house guests. Like, they were being given rather generic questions. So the answers came off kind of generic. And then there was Tucker. He gave, by far, the widest array of interesting answers. First of all, this I found fascinating. He wants to be the first one in the door and break the curse. The curse that no one who has ever gone in the Big Brother house first has gone on to win the game. He wants to go in first, and his goal is to break that curse. So that is bold, for sure. He says that he wants to be like Ian and also be a bit of a jokester. Says that he comes from a competitive family. Says he's a good cook. We got another good cook this season. Now let me tell you something. He may not be a chef like Lisa is, but he's an Italian from Boston. And the Italian section of Boston, the North End, there is just so many amazing Italian restaurants in that tiny little portion of Boston. So, you know, he probably is a really good cook. And if this show doesn't work out, there's always MasterChef. All I'm saying is Italians from Boston are typically very good cooks. That's been what I've gathered in my time living 25 miles away from Boston my whole life. He mentioned Brett again. We got another Brett mention. So the thing about Brett, it's a blessing and a curse because Brett definitely brought entertainment, but he really was a d-bag. He talked about how he's been bullied and been a bully. He says he's been a jock and a theater kid. So he's just lived a very eclectic life, and that tells me he might be a very eclectic player and a very interesting one to watch. And I think he'll definitely kill it socially. I think he'll be in a big alliance, and I think he's going to go far in this game. So that's the first 16 house guests. But there's gonna be one more. These house guests, first of all, we're gonna see 8 of them going in on Wednesday night, and the other 8 are going in Thursday night. And they are going to vote on a 17th house guest, who will apparently be a former contestant. Do you know how hard it is to draft a team when they do stuff like this? Seriously, how am I supposed to account? First of all, it's already 3 of us, me, my dad, and my brother. So before, when it was 16, we'd each pick 5, one gets left out. But now there's 17, so it's like, okay, do we leave 2 out? Do we wait until after we see who this 17th person is? Do we just wait until there's 15 people left and start then? It's like, what do we do here? So, yeah. When they do stuff like this, they're not thinking about the people who do drafts. I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, Taylor's been very active on social media, and she's going to be doing the Entertainment Weekly or Entertainment Tonight, one or the other, exit interviews again this season, like she did last season. So I'm guessing it's not going to be her, and she's my favorite house guest of all time. So, you know, they gotta really get someone good. Like it seems like they're gonna have a couple options of who to vote for. So even if I get my wish, and Vanessa Russo is one of them, The thing about BB-17 is it's not one of the most remembered seasons, unfortunately. So even if she's an option, I don't think anyone's gonna vote for her. I would, but you know, I'm used to having my opinions be kind of outside the mainstream, you know? So I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna do the draft. And I don't know why they can't just have 16 people. Like just make it normal, please. And then there's one more thing that I want to talk about, which is a very late realization. Um, there's going to be no more live feed archives on Paramount Plus. So if you don't see it happen live, you don't get to see it. And that also means you're not going to be able to get clips. Now, why would a show that keeps having contestants say problematic things that are well outside the game, what interest would they have in trying to prevent clips from circulating? Gee, I don't know. People like Luke, people like Paloma, people like Aaron, again, Brooklyn's friend. I read this and my heart sank because it feels like step one in getting rid of feeds. This honestly, and also like, you know what? Just take take getting clips out of it. Let's say people are asleep or people are at work and they just aren't able to watch this. Those people can no longer watch those moments back. And let's say we got two interesting conversations going on at the same time. You can only listen to one? Do you have to like split screen them and try to decipher both conversations? There's nothing good about this decision. And it tells me that they're trying to phase it out. So I don't love it. I trust that people are going to find a workaround. They always do. BB Twitter is committed, and people are very technologically savvy these days. But, you know, Taryn has 2 days, well, probably 3 days, because I think the feeds start on Thursday. But he has 3 days to figure out how to do this. Otherwise, he's really up the creek with his updates. It's just kind of like Big Brother Canada is no more because they got rid of live feeds. Like they got rid of the live feeds, and interest in that show just plummeted. Like it got canceled once before, and a large fan response brought it back. Now that it's been canceled again, no one really cares. They're like, get it to yourself. I haven't been interested in a while anyway. So I feel like this is just something that they're doing to try and phase out Big Brother. That's what I think. All right. Now, I am going to check Twitter to see if anything has happened because when I did this in BB24, I started my stream thinking Marvin was going to be a player, and then I checked Twitter at the end, and boom, Joseph was there all of a sudden. So let's see if anyone's been swapped out. Wouldn't that be funny if that happens again? Swap out Brooklyn. Ah, Brant Steele has added the cast to the simulator already, so that's interesting. Alright, nothing on my main timeline. Gotta check the hashtag. Apparently, Terran's live right now talking about the loss of live feeds, so there's no way I can compete with him, so I might as well just wrap this up soon. Alright, Ovi from BB21 is saying he is inevitable, and it's a picture of David. Ugh. I mean, I would be okay with David coming back just because he would be a non-factor in the game. And I'd rather just have these 16 people. Alright, so that's all I got. Stream for over an hour. Uh, it is officially BB season. I mean, as soon as it became July, it became BB season, I would say. That's when everything really started coming alive, but I mean, we have the cast now, so we are really, truly gearing up. Like, it is about to happen. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. There's no one here on Twitch right now, but if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. You can follow me on Twitter at NickGrimesYT. I have links to my YouTube channel and my Twitch channel there, and you can get my thoughts on Big Brother stuff as it happens. Uh, we'll see how this season goes. I, there are a decent number of things to be excited about, but I'd be lying if I said there aren't a couple things that have me just a little bit worried. So hopefully everything works out okay. But that will do it for this stream, for this video if you're watching it on YouTube, because you are, because no one's watching this stream. But I will see you next time.